Hey guys, if we think the community is going to fade running back again this upcoming season, should we zag and go heavy RB in startups? What do you think, Scott?
Making me go first on this one?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot. I've done it a couple times already thus far in the last couple weeks. Shout out to anybody here from DD. We did the Heisman Royal Rumble dispersal draft, which I took a part of. And then I've also done it in another league where just the value that you can get being willing to build your teams this way, where everybody is just chasing receiver after receiver after receiver. And I get it. Your tiers at receiver are good to mark out. I just did the show the other night on receivers, or 2 episodes ago on Destination Dynasty, talking about receivers. Like, we've never been in a time in Dynasty where receivers are valued higher than they are. But I think we're getting to that breaking point where it's like, okay, are we valuing wide receiver 40 over wide receiver or running back 20 because they're a receiver? And I haven't done all the research, but there have been people that have kind of talked about what's the track of receiver careers. And if you're already down in the wide receiver 40 to 50 range, just because you play a position that's not going to erode your career faster doesn't mean you're fantasy relevant any longer than the high end running backs, right? Like, how many times do we see a good wide receiver 3 or 4, and then the next year they're a wide receiver 4 or 5, and then 2 years from now they have no value? Like, that kind of feels like where the trend is now, and it's still in a startup. I got to take that wide receiver 40 because they're safer. That's safer than drafting Derrick Henry, when in reality, what is the wins above replacement or the warp you're getting from a season where you score 18, 19, 20 points per game at running back? It blows away a wide receiver 3. So yeah, I think if you're willing to build your team that way, we can talk maybe about how you can reinforce those decisions with your draft picks, with how you build other positions too. I don't think you want to just go all in and put all your assets in running backs. So you probably have to stick to some other principles in terms of what other type of assets you want to draft early. Do you maybe want to hedge taking some running backs with adding a couple extra rookie picks in the future just to offset the potential loss of the running backs quicker? But yeah, I think right now the better value is running backs in a lot of spots.
Yeah, I hate agreeing with Scott, but that's kind of how I've always been, right? Like, there's always there's elite players, right? It's kind of been one of my sayings for the last, I don't know, 30, 40 years of playing Dynasty now. Like, there's like, outside of quarterback, there's 7, 8 elite players. Once you get past those, then you need to start looking at players specifically. And like Scott said, like, why am I going to draft Michael? Well, he didn't say specifically, but why would I draft Michael Gallup over Derrick Henry? Like, yeah, Michael Gallup might play 5 more seasons and give me wide receiver 5 production every season. But Henry's 1 season, even if he only gets 1 of running back 1 season in, is more valuable. Yeah, you're going to have to replenish it, and you can't build your roster around everything but old running backs because, well, yeah, your team's going to age out all at the same time. And unless you have a bunch of picks to just replenish it, you're going to be definitely struggling for a few years. So I have no problem taking running backs. And I'm like, that's been my motto all this year, right? Since the offseason started, which I guess was only a month ago. I'm all about buying old running backs. If I can get Henry, Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, any of those dudes for a late first, I'm taking that all day.
So obviously when we're drafting in startups, we're trying to win the first year, sometimes more often than others. Are you more likely in your startups this year to just try to draft quote unquote contending teams with a bunch of these, Derrick Henrys of the world, and trying just to really win the first year because the dynasty landscape and I guess the dynasty community, it's so much shorter now in terms of windows. You're playing 1-2 year windows. What are your thoughts on that if I spat that out with reasonable sense?
I'm always going to try to build a core for the long term. So I'm always going to lean wide receiver, young wide receivers, right? But we get to the 5th, 6th round if people are letting running backs sit there. And I know that's the danger zone in redraft, or the no-go zone, or the twilight zone, or whatever the fun little name is everyone gave it last year. But I'm fine. Like, all right, Nick Chubb's here. I guess I'll take Nick Chubb because, again, it's the same theory. Does it matter if I have Michael Gallup on my roster for 6 years? Like, wow, I got 6 years of Michael Gallup, but only 2 of Nick Chubb. And I can't start Michael Gallup in half those games because if I start him in most of those games, he's giving me 4 points. So I think there's definitely a level that you have to do it at. And there's also a point where even with the quarterbacks where people are just going to start reaching for, I don't know, Mac Jones too early because it's a super flex. And I just say Mac Jones because I look at Scott and I think of Mac Jones. But someone starts reaching for Mac Jones, and I'm like, well, Derrick Henry's on the board. Like, I think I'd rather have Derrick Henry. And he's going to kind of be the go-to name as the old perfect quarterback or running back, excuse me.
Apparently, when you look at me, you're supposed to think of Baker Mayfield because multiple people have said it.
Yeah,
Sure, that's not Baker Mayfield.
That's what
in Scott's
everybody
place.
says.
You're much better looking than Baker.
Listen, when I shave, I look like a totally different person. So, and I appreciate the Baker Mayfield comments. Just we got a couple of those last time. But to answer Clay's question, when I'm doing a startup, my goal is to accumulate as much value as I can. But at the same time, what do we always talk about on the roster review, Shane? Putting your team, giving yourself a year to where you have flexibility to not contend if it doesn't break your way. But if things break your way early, you're not in a position where you are having to sell off future assets to try to close the deal. So I want to be the guy that's able to kind of thread the needle. My goal in a startup is to roster construct the way that I want, right? Because that's the other benefit of the drafting these running backs is you control all your other picks. You control your roster construction around. I draft 4 old running backs. I still control what I put around them. So that's a big key. It's much harder to take this strategy if you have a team that's 3 years old and you go, okay, I'm going to go running back heavy this year. Let me go make 4 trades to acquire those running backs because you may not have the team set up to do that. And the effort to have to put in to get your roster there might not be the perfect fit on a team you already have built. So a startup, you have the flexibility to essentially build the wall around the team so you're still protected if things go badly, but also accumulate as much value as you can in the startup. Trade back in the flat tiers. I mean, what do we always talk about? What did we talk about last week? Trading back in round 5, 6, 7 of your startup. If you can find the fish or the sucker that goes, oh man, I got to draft that receiver at the 502. Let me give you a 10th and a future first to draft my guy at 502. You make a couple of those deals, you've now offset any assets that you've paid up to get your elite quarterbacks, to get your elite tight end. But you've also given yourself a framework to where, man, if things go right for me early on in the season, I have a team that even if I don't win the championship, let's say I'm in playoff contention, I have the flexibility of a bunch of future first, future seconds, future thirds to buy points. And I can just maybe take 20% of my savings and spend that during the season. And guess what? If I don't win, I've roster constructed not to win. I still am set up for 2024, 2025. But man, you watch out. Hopefully that team doesn't start 6-0. Because the last thing you want is the 6-0 team to also have 3 future firsts and have 3 or 4 cornerstone quarterbacks or cornerstone stud players. That's what I'm trying to do in a startup. It's not to win right away. But I also don't want to say, yeah, I'm just going to finish 12th place and get the 101. Because a lot of times you end up with a team that has Bijan this year, right? Isn't even ready to compete next year. Great. You have that 101, but you tanked so hard, you're 2 years away from being a threat. I don't want to be there either.
Yeah, the big thing Scott said there is the flexibility part, right? Because you commit to one thing, and before you know it, you're not that thing. Like, and this is why like trading 24 picks in startups is just like, oh, it's like nails on a chalkboard, right? Because I'm like, I don't know that I'll actually be good. Clearly, I think I'm good because I do a YouTube show. I do a podcast. I write about it. But guess what? I get things wrong too. And I draft a team and things break wrong. And then if that team is crap and I have no 24 picks and I've committed everything to, aging assets, then I'm just dead in the water. And this is going to be a roster that's going to be dead for like 2 years.
So we've got 251 people in here. This is our Tuesday night crew. We love Tuesday nights. Favorite night of the week. If you're watching on replay, like I said, we do this every Tuesday. We're going to go through a bunch of different trades. We're going to go through some strategy stuff today. If you want to bail at any point, by all means, go check out our channel, though. Check out the playlist. There's a lot of stuff to binge on. Speaking of binging, we've got a newer listener here that popped in a super chat for us. Thank you very much, Corey. Newer listener, been binging your show. Starting a 10-team league with Dynasty newbies. Ideal settings, thinking start 10, Superflex. What bench size should he use? And should he do auction startup? How much are you spending to get 2 top 8 QBs?
Let me just jump on the settings, right? Auctions, I always screw up. So I'm not even going to tell you how much to spend because it's going to be wrong and you'll be punting year one, not on purpose. But if it's going to be a 10 team, I want to start at least 12. Me personally, I want to make the starting rosters deep enough that like there's some pain. I don't want us being able to go to the waiver wire and going, oh, look at this. I got a guy that's going to start every week for me. Like I definitely don't want to find that. Or, well, no, definitely be a guy in the NFL. No gals playing yet. I personally like drafting better than auctions. I've come to this conclusion. I'm okay with that. Look, it's fun for me. Okay. There's more trading in startups when there's draft picks.
I think with Dynasty newbies, going the auction route right off the bat may not be the best idea. I mean, auctions are fun, and if everybody's on point, then go for it. But Dynasty newbies, like, it could get really gross after the startup. There could be 4 just horrific teams, and it could be all off balance right from the get go. What do you think, Scott?
I think an important thing is get everyone on board with what the settings are going to be. You don't want somebody in a brand new league with newbies that goes, I hate auctions, but I'll just do the league. Like, you want to make sure everyone's on board, especially if you have people that are doing their first league or, maybe their first league of the season, or they haven't done a full dynasty league yet. Iron that out. I think another important thing that doesn't get talked about, and we see this on our roster reviews all the time, you need to correlate a lot of the things that are going on. You need to correlate your roster settings, your lineup settings. You got to get all of that stuff kind of in line. I'll say what I prefer, but nothing is worse than jumping into a league, doing a 10-team start line, and then you make the bench 32 roster spots. It's all out of whack. Right now, everybody is going, man, I only can start 9, but I have to roster 32 players. Who wants to give me a 4-for-1 deal? You shift the strategy. Once people start figuring it out, you shift the strategy because your settings are misaligned. So I always recommend, whatever my starting lineups are, that's like 40% of my total roster spots, however you want to construct it. If you want to do a 10 by 10, then do 25-man rosters. Just cut it at that. Now, the waiver wire is going to be better in that league than it would be if you did 12 teams start 12 with, 32-man rosters. It's different. But I think you just have to pick something that's in line so that the market stays in line. You don't want to overdo it and then not have enough roster spots. But you especially don't want to underdo it. You don't want to do like 9 starters, but then, 33-man rosters.
We do roster reviews and see that. We want to punch things.
or a 10-team. I mean, think about it. A 10-team, we see 10 teams start 8, right? That is 80 starters across the league. That should be a shallow league. That should be like an FFPC type waiver league, because that's how the roster values are going to balance each other out. Otherwise, you have this weird thing where 2 years down the road, everyone figures out, man, how do I trade up? How do I consolidate? How do I find a sucker that gives me 4? I'll give them 4 pieces. They give me 1 player. Like, you don't want to dictate the market based on inefficiency in your settings. So reach out to one of us, find somebody to look at it that's not in the league, that doesn't have a preference, and go,
right.
Yeah, man, send it to Shane or I'll look at it within 2 minutes. I'll be able to tell you, I don't really like that setup. I don't really like that idea. And it's not because I personally don't like a 10-team 1 QB. If you want to do that, that's fine. But there might be some inefficiencies where you go, if you start the league like this, it's going to be a theme that comes up over and over and over. Yep. And you can't really fix it 2 years in. You can't just go, okay, we're going to add 3 flex spots. We're going to add 10 bench spots. You don't want to have to change that year to year.
Yeah, and we I guess we give him some thoughts as to whether or not he may still want to go auction route. Let's just answer his last part real quick. How much are you spending to get 2 top 8 QBs? I mean, recent auctions we've done, I mean, they're going for what, 400, 450 each in $1,000 budget. I think that's what some good ones are going for 370 or so. Like, that's what I'm saying. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, see, this is where I get this is the problem with auctions for me, is I'm like, I get into the bidding wars with people when I'm like, just hold. And I can't convince myself to actually just hold. And I'm like, sure, I just spent $500 on Patrick Mahomes on $1,000 budget. And then when am I going to do it my QB too? I don't know. I can't say I can advocate spending more than 65% of your total budget on 2 quarterbacks. You're going to spend more than that, Scott?
In a 10-team start 10, if you do the
80
math,
to 85%.
Okay.
I would basically pay 90 to 95% if I can lock up 2 of the top 6 to 8 quarterbacks and an elite tight end.
Okay.
Because think about it, especially if
you're throwing a tight end into the mix.
Well, okay, I would pay 85% for the quarterbacks if that's what it took. Now, it is a 10 team, so maybe you scale that back just a little bit, but think about it. If you're going to do, let's just say 25-man rosters, right? 10 teams start 10, 25-man rosters.
Yeah.
I should be able to get closer to like the league average at the spots where there's a ton of depth much easier. What's going to be really hard to get access to is, man, I'm trying to get Travis Kelce. Man, I'm trying to get Pat Mahomes. Man, I'm trying to get Jalen Hurts. Like, I'd rather get those guys in the startup, and especially if it's newbies, overpay a little bit to set your roster up the way that you want in a lineup league. You're not going to regret it. Now, if that's like our USFFL league, Clay, that we just completed, that's a 12-team start 12, 32-man rosters, really deep, Devy component. It hurts to go 85% of your budget on 2 players out of 32 in a best ball league. But you know what? People did it. People spent Clay spent, I think, almost 80% of his money on 2 quarterbacks.
And he traded them all away.
No, but that's the format where you'd go, man, in a best ball league with this deeper rosters, you're going to have a plan if you do that. But in a 10-team start 10 with, I don't know, 25-man rosters, like, dude, give me the 3 studs at the onesie positions, and I'll figure out the receivers and running backs.
I got Arch Manning. Better help me out in 2025. Okay, let's move on to another one here. That was a good question. Okay, when you join a random league, do you have any strategies for sizing up league mates? Send out trade offers, players on trade block, use the chat to talk about specific subjects. Shane and I were talking about this one before the stream. We're like, yeah, we'll throw it up. This might lead to some interesting conversation. So go ahead. I
say this all the time. I hate talking. I do love hearing other people talk, and I love people giving me information. And me and Scott talked about this for years, you too, but as you've learned at our feet, and we've taught you in the ways. But just about every trade offer you make, if someone gives you any feedback, that's an information you can use going forward. Oh, I don't want to pay that for a 27-year-old wide receiver. Oh, okay. Well, what do I have in the 25-year-old range? Let me try that instead. I do like talking in the chats. I do like finding out who the fans of specific teams are, because that shouldn't matter in Dynasty, but it always does. There's not every owner, but there's definitely owners in our leagues, in the leagues we play in. They're like, hey, I'm a Pittsburgh fan. I'm like, that's great. George Pickens, he's really good. Blah, 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 blah. So I do like talking just to listen. And personally, I don't like to give up much information. I generally won't, unless I'm going to actually finalize the trade with you right then and there. I'm not going to give you much information on the back end. I'm going to just either decline it or counter, although countering also is giving you information. So I don't know. I kind of just take in information from everyone and play stupid. Because when you play stupid, people assume you're stupid.
You're really good at that.
Yeah,
you're really good at that.
And then you just remember things. You just hold on to things.
Scott, anything to come to mind here?
I think if it's a startup, and unfortunately, if it's going to be no shade, but it's a little more difficult on Sleeper because you can't readily respond to a trade offer with a rejection note or a comment. You have to basically send them a direct message in response to the trade. But if I'm starting a new league, regardless of the platform, in a startup, if it's not an auction, I'm going to start sending out the offers that I want to send out that are trying to fit the construction that I want to build. And that's the first thing. I mean, obviously you can pay attention to the chat. You can just sit back and watch everyone else go on in the chat, whatever they're talking about. You might be able to get some nuggets from people in there. But if it's just kind of like a regular league where there's not much chatter, you can't really get much from what they're talking about, send out the offers in the startup. Any information you get in a trade, even a rejection, even a comment on, even if someone just goes off on you about how bad of a trade that was, you at least know the format of the trade you sent them. There might be a trigger point where you can go, okay, next time I'm going to send him the opposite trade, right? Like Shane cusses me out when I send him an offer. Like WTF, bro. I'll send Shane the opposite trade offer, something literally the opposite. And if he says WTF, bro, then you know what? I'm probably not going to be able to trade with Shane because there's obviously an issue there. So is it the trade or is it me? You know, like getting free information like that, even when someone rejects a trade, something to keep in the back of your mind. And then you never know when you'll need to use it down the road. So just kind of have a keen mind, and any tell you can spot, you can use it down the road. And if you forget, you forget. I don't have time to, you know, what was the old guy's name that used to keep notes? Leo Siga used to keep notes on everybody's trades and write in a notebook. Like I'm not doing that, but I do have an idea of, you know, maybe what somebody's done in the past, and I'll try to exploit it in the future.
Yeah. And Scott hit on it, but then he glossed over it. Be aggressive. You're smarter than them. Or, okay, let me not say you're smarter than them. You might not be smarter than them, but you're definitely more forward thinking than the people that you're playing in leagues with. You know, I know that because you're watching a goddamn YouTube stream at Tuesday at 9 o'clock at night about fantasy football. You know, that, and again, that doesn't automatically make you smarter, but it definitely shows that your brain wants to expand. It wants to be different. So you can definitely outthink and outfox the players that you're playing with. Now, if you're all in the same league from Dynasty Trades in 5, I don't know what to tell you. Then you just got to zag all the time.
Just zagging around. Yeah. Okay, let's do a quick inbox offer, and then I want to talk about a league economy a little bit. So Hurricane Lane, he's a regular here. 12-team Superflex, full PPR, already have Watson and Fields. Give the 111 Calvin Ridley and Zach Wilson for Dak Prescott.
I know what Scott's going to say.
Give me
how many starters?
Okay, let's say it's a start 10.
Yeah, I'm taking Dak and gonna leverage the fact that I now have 3 of the top 10 quarterbacks. There's a couple people that are already hurting, and they're gonna hurt even more when they give me another quarterback in this top 10, top 11. So I'm taking Dak there.
I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and accept the trade, but then guess what? Fields right on the block. What can I turn Fields into now? Because he's sexier. His name's sexier. He didn't just lose his OC, but he still has CD Lamb, and there's a pretty good chance they're going to be drafting JSN for him or someone like that. So, yeah, I'll take the trade, but then I'm immediately moving Fields, not Watson.
Okay. Hit that accept. Smash that accept.
Real quick, I just want to hit this one real quick. Okay, I didn't start. Here you go. Just starting the show, but Mixon is still available in the 9th of a startup. I'm in. I would select Mixon now without even knowing who else is there. I'm going to guess.
I was going to get into the whole, like, well, how are you going to roster construct? Shane's like, I don't care if you have 6 running backs already. Just
figure it out later.
Smash Mixon. Zag, baby. Zag. Now, let's talk a little bit about league economy. We'll see where this goes. But let's say you're in a league and they are just obsessed with draft picks. It's impossible to get draft picks from anybody. And you're in a spot where you don't have any, and you have some aging players on your team that you're trying to sell for draft picks, but nobody wants to budge because they love them so much. Let's talk about leagues where you have to kind of zag or find weaknesses, find out what your league mates do value to be able to get anything done and still win. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I think the first thing you got to do is actually test if that hypothesis is true. Because a lot of times it'll seem that way until you try to go the other way. Like you're clearly trying to zig when everyone else is zagging, but then they don't embrace the fact that, you know, you're zigging. So really it's just draft picks are valuable because that's what they have when you're trying to sell them on draft picks. Cause you're looking at the league and going, wow, these 5 teams own every draft pick in the next 2 years. Right. So you have the one rogue first that they don't have. You should be able to sell that pick to one of those teams that's just hoarding all the picks until they go to you and they go, yeah, you know, I'm not really interested in that first because whatever the reason is, I don't need any more. You know, I just don't know where that pick's going to be, whatever it might be. So I think you have to test first, like, is that actually true? Like there are some leagues where, I mean, you hear it all the time on different shows where it's like, man, as soon as those 24 picks become available, these 1 or 2 players in your league, they're gone. As soon as I have access to those picks, hey, who wants draft picks? I'm buying vets. I'm buying running backs. You know, who's going to sell me a receiver for those picks? I don't like draft picks. That's somebody where you can clearly just go the opposite way because you already know what they're going to do. But what I found, maybe it's just being a content creator, my company name is in every team that I have. So like people know it's me. I found when I try to zag, even if I'm kind of feeling like maybe the market actually embraces my zag a little bit too, right? The market's super wide receiver heavy now. Everyone's obsessed with getting 23 picks. People are starting to be obsessed with getting 24 picks. Can I go to a league where it's clearly heading in that direction and zag? Till I send out those offers, and then it's why are you sending me those offers?
What's Scott?
What's the angle? Why are you buying my Derrick Henry when you've just shit on running backs for the last 3 years? You know, what's the angle there? So then really it's not an advantage at that point because they're skeptical. So maybe that's just something that you have to overcome if people know what you're going to do. But you have to test it first before you just say everyone does this and I know it, so I'm going to go the other way. Make sure you're actually zigging when other people are zagging.
Immediately identify who the Denver Broncos of your league is and go get their picks. Yeah, I find even there's no absolutes in most leagues. Like I'm in a ton of leagues and I'm like, I would never trade this player. And then I get an offer and I'm like, well, I'm trading this player. Same holds for picks, but I'm not going to overpay for them. If people want to, hold on to their 112s with their dear life, all right, well, maybe I'll try to get some seconds out of them. Like Scott said, I'll have already turned to 2024. After this rookie class, I'll turn to 2025 after the draft because then it's only 2 years away, right? Yeah, 2 years away. But then if I know they overvalue draft picks and they don't value players, well, then I'm going to get players off of them. Like, all right, well, you don't, like a third, fourth year guy, AJ Brown, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, oh, he's 26. I'm like, yeah, let me get him because he's old. It's Stephon Diggs. That hurts me to say, like, I would buy a 28-year-old wide receiver, but okay. Terry McLaurin. I made a trade in Dynasty Trades of 5, one of our leagues. I gave up the 112 for Terry McLaurin. I don't especially like Terry McLaurin, but I like his chances better than whatever that 112 is going to be, looking at the past history of what 112s have been.
Yeah, that was an interesting trade because you're kind of rebuilding ish in that league, and I was like, why is he buying Terry McLaurin? But I mean, it's proper value. I got that offer sent to me too, but I am definitely more in the dumpster than yours apparently.
I have a question for you, Clay.
What's up?
Just because sometimes we skip over Clay's opinion on some of these things, and Clay's in a lot of leagues. Clay understands league economies. What do you do if you find yourself in a league with a lot of like-minded individuals, like our Trades in 5 listener leagues, like some of the leagues you've joined from the Patreon and with the DD crew? Like, if you've read that the league basically just everyone is chasing quote unquote value, but they're not purely chasing value if it goes against what they're trying to currently do with like their roster construction. How do you zig when those people are zagging, when it's just everyone's chasing value and everyone understands the timing of when to buy draft picks, when to sell draft picks? They kind of understand being able to look ahead and look at a class. Like it's easy to go, everyone overvalues draft picks, so I'm going to sell my draft picks. But when everyone's trying to play like all the angles, where's the edge in one of those leagues? I think that's the constant thing that we're trying to figure out as content creators, right? How do we stay ahead of thousands of people that are actually doing what we're trying to do against us?
It's really tough, man. I mean, you try to pull as many process trades as you can where you're trading within the same tier and getting a little piece on top, but everybody's doing the same thing. People are doing the auto accept trade block where they're taking thirds for, randoms. Everybody's doing the same thing, and everybody's still sending out crappy offers that we know we're not going to accept, which is absolutely hilarious. You're in these sharp leagues and you're getting crappy offers, and it's like, I know you listen to our show, but those are tough, man. I think I try to go more individual. Like, I know this league manager likes this player, so let's figure out a way to get that player on his team, and I can extract whatever kind of value. But it's tricky when you're a bunch of like-minded folks.
Well, there's also, and not to step on Clay, but that's what I kind of do. That's what I do here. If the mics were going to ask me across the table, but sometimes this is where we start future casting, right? Like, that was one of the things me and Scott used to always talk about when we get on shows, is like what we think is going to happen. Now, we're not always right, you know what I mean? But lots of people are going to be wrong, even if they just follow the same path of everyone else. So sometimes I just go, all right, this is how I think the market's trending, and this is what I think is going to happen. I don't want to beat the dead horse, but what did we do with wide receivers last year? We went, well, these dudes are exactly the same tier, literally the same dude, but because one has a cool name and a star on his helmet, he's valued at a much higher rate than this dude that's from this horrible city in Cincinnati. And then you kind of pull off deals like that. So you kind of have to future cast some. You have to be trying to predict the future, which is not great, but not so much that you're betting everything in it, but you can hedge a little bit and go, all right, well, I think running backs are going to be a value in 2023. So I'm gonna hoard a bunch of second round draft picks in the 23 class so I can trade for a bunch of older running backs from people when they get all giddy over these newblings. Yeah, the newblings that are coming in.
That's what they're called.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to add to a point that Shane brought up, that sometimes it is hard to figure out how to beat your league mates because we play with a lot of people that are just as good at the game as we are, right? Like that's very common. Like I'm probably 70% of the players I'm playing with in leagues, they're good. They know a lot of the tricks. They know the tricks that I'm trying to pull. So you're not going to be able to get a lot of those trades. I think one advantage that's never going to go away, though, is trying to forecast not just where the fantasy space is going, the dynasty space, but the NFL, having an understanding of the sport in general. What drives dynasty? What drives fantasy? And being able to make big bets. Like Shane said, you're not always going to be right. But let's say you've identified like 2 or 3 big picture items that you think are going to be prevalent going forward in the NFL or in dynasty. Bet on those now. If you're wrong, you're wrong. That's why we play in a portfolio of leagues, right? Like if I'm wrong and I'm wrong in, 10 leagues, then I'm going to take the loss. But I'll tell you what, if I'm right and things trend the way that I'm guessing, but I'm a year or 2 ahead of people, there's a lot of profit to be had there. So I think it's just making the bet earlier instead of saying, like, nothing is worse than when somebody says, I want to wait to see what happens to trigger my decision. Because at that point, yeah, sure, you might make the right decision, but you're getting, a 1% return on your investment at that point because everyone is already on that side of the bet. I'd rather bet before the line moves and get a 20% profit if I hit on it right. But I made it earlier than everybody else. So I think that's always going to be advantage. That's always an advantage in a lot of things in life too. The earlier person that makes the bet, more risk, but probably more reward down the line. So treat dynasty the same way.
I like it. And here's Mike Gardner. We brought him up the last show. He said, I haven't watched live in a couple weeks, but still my favorite show. Haven't missed an episode. No question. Nice. We got him for another week, guys.
Appreciate that. Getting us the Nielsen ratings are looking really good in middle America.
No, appreciate the super chat, Mike. That's hilarious. We'll always remember that. Okay, so Chris has a super chat for us. Thank you very much, sir. Best Dynasty show out there. Spoke with Shane earlier on a trade involving getting Herbert and giving 2 24 firsts, a 25 first, and Dotson, which I accepted before you told me not to. Oops. Was wondering the show's thoughts on buying elite QBs regardless of need when they're available. Have Mahomes, Lamar, Chase, Jefferson, DK, Devontae, Pitts, 23 picks to take RBs. So we always talk about that, Sky. You always say, the advantage is when they are available, and that you should make an offer of them. If they're put on the trade block, make an offer, try to acquire them. But what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of goes with the question we got earlier. Should I buy Dak Prescott when I already have 2 quarterbacks? And at first glance, you're going, no, I don't need another quarterback. But if you've identified that it's a good price, especially in January or February, and it's an asset, I mean, it's literally like buying gold or silver. You might not have enough room in your chest to hold it all. But if you get it at a good deal, you just buy it. It's going to be a market for it in a couple months, 6 months, close to the season. Like, yeah, the elite quarterbacks, that's the gold standard in Dynasty, right? If you can get your hands on whatever one becomes available, even if you have Mahomes and Lamar, if the person puts Trevor Lawrence on the block and you're getting him at 85% of what he should be going for, done. Worry about it later. So yeah, elite quarterbacks, positional advantage guys that are, even if you get stuck with them, you are removing one of those from someone else to have on their team that can match your advantage. Like you're
That
playing
was going to
keep
be
away. There's a big component we don't think about playing keep away.
that was going to be my
know?
question though. Is if you can't in your league move one of those 3 elite QBs and you spent, a good amount to get them, yeah, you're playing keep away, but it's the opportunity cost of what you could have done to help your roster in that keep away game. So what are your thoughts there?
I mean, first of all, the time's on your side right now. You have plenty of time. And if you're getting enough of a deal, aren't you just willing to take the gamble that you will be able to move them for, even if you take a little bit of a loss? That's still forecasting, like I was talking about a couple minutes ago, right? You might get burned on one of those deals. I would bet against that you're going to get burned on trading for an elite quarterback, though. You may not be able to get the perfect trade, because you got to figure if someone puts Trevor Lawrence on the block and he's on the block for 2 days and you're the one that gets him for 85%, that kind of is your market already speaking to what his value is, correct? But you still have more flexibility to go, okay, maybe I can now trade Lamar Jackson after he signs. Maybe I can trade Patrick Mahomes for triple what Trevor Lawrence went for. Like, you have more flexibility simply because you're buying an asset that you're much more comfortable with. So, I mean, that's the answer. You take the gamble, and like quarterbacks, I'm just going to take them if I can get them.
Yep.
Me and Scott argue about this like a old married couple.
You need a new marriage counselor, by the way.
My last one didn't work. So yeah, definitely need a new one. But yeah, I usually don't like, because to me, giving up the 25 first, I could really care less about. 224 first, Dotson. Oh, I guess I care about a 25 first. It's just, where else could I have spent that capital? You know what I mean? Like, I hate plowing too many assets in the one position when that one position's already just a monstrous advantage. That's my only concern, is I'd much rather go, all right, well, if I could do that, can I just go see if I can go get Justin Jefferson for that? Can I just see if I can go get Jamar Chase for that? What can I get? Like, can I get Breece Hall for a 25 first and a 24 first? That's just how my brain thinks. You know what I mean? But it's probably not a bad idea to have. Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever complained and gone, oh, my roster has too many good quarterbacks in a Superflex league. What do I do?
Yep. Okay. So Davis Daniels has done it again, and the first sentence has sorry as a word in it. Never be sorry for tipping the show $100 to ask a question. And honestly, you really don't need to give us $100. We always appreciate it, man. This goes to Dunkin' iced coffees for Shane. Looks like Scott got a new mic. No, I'm kidding. I throw it to Liam for editing. So no, we really appreciate it, dude. You are mega generous here. So let's answer your question. Sorry for the lengthy one. 14-team Superflex start 10. Team is Mahomes, Brady, Saquon, Breece, Etienne, Pacheco, Tyreek, Garrett Wilson, Monra St. Brown, T. Higgins, Drake London, Ridley, Kelsey. It's got the 102, 104, 106, 112, 524 first, and the 25 first. Received an offer of Geno and Diggs for a 24 and 25 first. Do I make the move of trading away future youth to get a stud player in Diggs, or do I have enough already? All 524 firsts are projecting early. Good Lord.
Go back to that roster again real quick for me. I mean,
I followed along, unlike Shane. So I'm going to just say I'm not doing this trade right now, because essentially I'm giving up 1.5 to 2 first. I know Geno Smith has some value. I know some people will say he's worth like a late first in 2024 or mid first in 2025, but the early part of those first, why am I moving those in January for a 29-year-old receiver and a quarterback that we really had no idea what he was before this past year? Like, it just feels like you're settling there, and then he can add those 2 players to his team, and he's probably going to look at his roster and go, this roster is unbeatable. But it's going to be February 1st.
Yeah,
I'm just not rushing to give up 2 firsts for a deal like that. You swap out those guys for one core player or a top 12 receiver and a third or something like that. I'm more apt to make that when I'm buying insulation versus just buying that type of asset right now. So I would pass.
Yeah, I think we get blinded sometimes when someone throws in another player. We're like, oh, that just makes it so much more valuable. Like Scott said, Geno Smith hasn't done anything in his entire career up until last year. I don't foresee him continuing that trend. And if he does, I don't consider that it's going to be a long time. I don't know that Diggs is an upgrade on – he's an upgrade on Ridley. That's it.
he needs to spend his money honestly on a second quarterback. You
Yeah, I
got
mean,
you got so
Brady
many
is.
assets. You have
Mhm.
all sorts of firsts. Like get another stud QB on this team, and it's just ridiculous indefinitely.
Yep, yep, yep.
We'll talk to you in the background about doing a roster review for your generous self. Okay, let's hide that one. Thank you again, Davis. Appreciate you, man. Okay, so let's move on to
Hit like.
hit. Oh yeah, hit the like. 375 folks in here. Always have a big Tuesday crew. We appreciate you. If you're enjoying the content, please look down, hit that like. We've got
We're at. I like giving
yeah,
percentages. We're at 14% liked rate.
14%.
Yeah, I don't know how
That's not
accurate that
great,
is.
Bob.
This is why I don't do auctions well. So that might not be right.
So in a half PPR league, is hero RB a solid strategy? And how good does the hero need to be? Jameer Gibbs, DeAndre Swift.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely a viable strategy. I think you just need to roster construct properly around it. It's a viable strategy in whatever format, but obviously in a half PPR, depending on how many total starters, how many total roster spots, how many total teams, like it's going to change the math a little bit. But it really just comes down to you probably want to roster more running backs because it's half PPR versus full PPR. But you still got to look, what is the cost of the positional advantages around it? So I think it is, when I talk about it being a good strategy, it is not necessarily a bad strategy in any format, because like the least impactful for running backs is probably going to be, some tiered PPR format where the receivers and tight ends are getting a ton more points for receptions. Maybe there's yardage bonuses or something like that. Like that's what would hurt the running backs the most. But even in those, it's still a viable strategy to kind of go with like a hero RB approach, because basically you're betting on your hero RB getting all the way there. Now if your hero RB is DeAndre Swift, you probably need 3 DeAndre Swifts. And what's the cost? But what's the cost of getting 3 DeAndre Swifts, hoping that you end up with 1 Saquon Barkley, versus the cost of just getting, 9 Jag running backs? Which one is a higher bet of becoming a Saquon Barkley, the 9 Jags or 3 DeAndre Swifts? And then what's the cost? The 3 DeAndre Swifts is probably going to cost a lot more. So you just kind of have to think about, I look at running backs as layers, and it's really hard now because we're at the beginning of the offseason. Nobody knows jack shit about 75% of their running backs, whether it's the rookies or the guys hitting free agency. Everyone's going, ooh, that guy's hitting free agency. Ooh, that guy has a teammate hitting free agency. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? So I think it's important to stick to your roster construction principles now, but certainly like be thinking ahead a little bit. Like, hey, I'm going to go with this build. Do I want my anchor to be DeAndre Swift? Probably not. So maybe I need to think about what I want to put around him.
And that's the problem with the, like Scott said, the anchor RB. The anchor RB in week 1, it might not have anything to do with in week 17, 18. And matter of fact, we know there won't, because they'll just be like, oh yeah, I'm starting Zonovan Knight this week because Brees Hall tore up his knee, and now I'm starting with that guy. Now, but I do like having one monster RB, and it ain't Swift. That dude is not a hero RB, not at all.
Yeah, let me throw this one up there because this one kind of plays into it. It was another question on the community post. If you don't know what I'm talking about, by the way, on our YouTube channel, if you click on the community tab, that's where I post things about, live stream tonight, post your questions and comments here. That's what I mean when I'm talking about the community chat or the community posts. Here's one right here. It was, I play in 2 10-team Superflex half PPR leagues, and one is a 1.5 tight end premium. Should I acquire more than one hero RB? Go less wide receivers and gear more towards extra running backs for flexes, or still look to hit the 7 to 8 wide receiver threshold? And this commenter obviously had listened to your series, Scott, on Destination Dynasty on roster construction, but had this question.
Well, I mean, so you have to give a little more specifics. So if this person wants to follow up with maybe a couple more details, reach out to me privately. But in a 10-team, a lot of 10-team leagues, Shane said it earlier, if you're playing in a 10-team, it better be at least 12 starters, or you're probably looking at the player values similar to or less than what we would look at them in a 12-team start 10. So if you think a 12-team start 9 or 12-team start 8 is shallow, that's essentially the same as a 10-team start 10. So the shallower you get, the less viable the approach of going with one hero RB becomes, right? Because there's less players in the lineup. You're not able to embrace the variance as much. So we get a bunch of roster reviews. They're 10 teams start 9. Okay, in that league, I'm probably not going to punt my RB2 spot as much because there's only 9 starters and there's less starters across the league. So I don't want to just completely punt one of my spots. It's more important to say, okay, I need to have multiple hammer running backs, but I definitely have to have at least one. Now, how do I get one? If it's a 12-team start 13, I can take a gamble that I only need one, and if it misses, it misses. But in a 10-team start 9, maybe I need to get 2 because there's a good chance, like Shane said, one of them is eroded by halfway through the season. So if I want some insurance, I probably got to pay up for the insurance the shallower the format is. So it's all a math formula. Like roster construction is one thing, but then you got to actually pick the players that go into it and realize you're going to be wrong on the players 40% of the time. Even if you're sharp, you're going to miss 40% of the time on what players are going to fill those slots.
Let's do an inbox offer here from Mike. 12-team Superflex start 10. I get Daniel Jones. I give the 202, 203, and Tannehill, or maybe Jameis. My current QBs are Kyler, Mac Jones, Tannehill, Jameis, and Jordan Love. It's fair, but I would give it.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to value Daniel Jones as a top 12 dynasty quarterback, then this is cheap relative to what you would pay for the guys that are a tier above him. So I'm okay doing it.
I just I did the Dynasty Fantasy Football mailbag. I think that's what it's called for DLF now. Just changed the name for SEO purposes. And one of the questions was about Daniel Dimes, and I said, you know what? I think it was 111 is what someone paid for him. I said, as a top 12 QB, that's stealing. And I said, and even if he's not that, even if he's just a high-end QB2, mid QB2, which he's been the rest of his career, he's still worth that. And then I just listed some of the players you could have gotten then. It was like, not great at all, Bob.
Yep. Hit accept on that one. Okay. This one from Jared, I thought was funny. The first part, rebuilding bigly with the 101, 201, and 203. So I force trade those picks. If it turns out the best value at those picks ends up being RB. So should he move off of them?
Well, unfortunately for Jared, I think there's a very good chance that the best value at those picks is going to be running back in this year's class. Yeah, I mean, if he's rebuilding and he can't get the trades that he wants. I mean, we've taken 101 trades for a month already, right? Like we've had tons of trades. What should I do with the 101? My team isn't ready for Bijan. What should I shoot for? I would definitely put in the work over the next couple months, identifying exactly what you're comfortable and at least move the 101. I'm okay making the running back picks in the second because those are more of like, man, if I hit on a Dameon Pierce or someone like that, and I think Shane would agree with this. You hit on a running back in the second, that's a flip. I don't care how good they are. That's a guy I'll take a first for almost no matter what. But it's the 101 there that I'm kind of like, man, I got to do my due diligence to see if I can shop it.
Always trying to flip those second round running backs and always getting yelled at by people. But this time it's going to be different. And I'm like, it's not. It's never different. Just stop it.
Just stop it. Devin, thank you for your super chat, man. This is one of 2, and Shane's got both of them. Shane, I always appreciate you doing this, by the way.
I have no idea.
I
hope the second one's in there.
Either way, I appreciate you. Yes, it is. So 12-team Superflex PPR 0.75 tight end premium, start 11. QBs are Watson, Rodgers, Sam Howell. Wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, Pittman, Ayuk, Lockett, Bateman, Lazard. At running back, he's got Chubb, Jamal Williams, and other any 53 guys. Tight end is Kelsey. I have the 101. Should I be looking to use that to upgrade my QB room with a trade like Rodgers and the 101 for Fields? Or is this roster ready to win now? So we'll go back to this roster here.
What do you think of Shane?
I love Pittman. He's a buy for me in the offseason. But Ayuk, Pittman, Hill, Lockett, Bateman, Lazard. No, I don't want to. No, I don't want to add Bijan to this. I like the idea of buying another quarterback. I don't like adding Rodgers to the 101 to get the quarterback. To be frank, I'd rather use Rodgers as another trade asset. No, I don't want to add Bijan to this roster. It's start 11. It's not a bad roster, but I definitely want a better quarterback. And I like Fields. I need to put that out there. But I ain't giving up the 101 for him, even in a package. I'm going to look elsewhere.
I mean, I would give up the 101 for Fields, but I think you definitely shop the 101 to see if you can get a quarterback, like Clay's talked about a couple times already. Like shooting for the quarterback first. If you can secure that deal, you have some other options where you could go, okay, who wants to give me 2/3 for Sam Howell? Maybe I get a 24 second and a 23 third for Sam Howell. Like you can turn. The last thing I'm worried about not being able to get in this year's class or not be able to get over the summer is going to be a running back room. Now, is it going to be one that I love? Is it going to be Bijan, Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley? No, but I'm not worried about over the next 6 months. If I have a team and I go, oh my gosh, you know, what was it on a video a couple weeks ago? Shane mentioned the name Tariq Cohen. Yeah, Tariq Cohen. I go, Shane, like I'm not even rostering him, you know, like, but that guy, you even mentioned his name. Like if you have some teams where your best running back is, you know,
Boston Scott,
28-year-old veteran, you're going, man, this guy might not even be in the league. You can get out of that. If you have a team that doesn't have enough of the threshold receivers, all your tight ends suck, and you don't have good quarterbacks, where are you going? So I'm okay, especially this year, just doing the running backs last. So that would mean you can move Bijan.
Thank you for that super chat. We've got one from Joey Cheesesticks here. 12-team Superflex, start 10. QBs are Lamar and Russ. Is the 102 and the 112 too much to give up for Fields? Top 3 team. Asking because he's my favorite player and I'm biased.
So it's funny, just so you know. So no, I wouldn't trade the 101 for the 102 and the 112 if someone offered that to me. So no, I don't feel the 102 and the 112 is too much for Fields.
Yeah, but Shane, doesn't this violate your rule of, well, I guess you don't probably feel comfortable with Russ as your QB2. So this is
even with the great Sean Payton there. Just real quick, I looked up Drew Brees' fantasy finishes in his last 3 years with Sean Payton, and they were all QB 20 or worse. I think it might have been overall scoring now because I used the DLF scoring finder.
Shane, we go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, just hypothetical. If this was Dak Prescott instead of Russell Wilson, would you still pay it for Fields, or would that be on the fine line of you're overpaying, or you're paying for a QB that I don't need?
I mean, at that point, yeah, no. You know what I might do though? I'd go, what can I get with Dak in that 112? Is there anyone willing to let me slide up a little? And if not, what else can I add to that and go get a Lamar, since everyone hates him?
Shane and I made a trade in the listener league.
We did
the other day. Yeah. I gave Shane Breece Hall and Jimmy Garoppolo, and he gave me Justin Fields and like the 210 or 212 or something.
212.
Yeah. Listen, I love Shane to death, but it's like 3 months ago, exactly 3 months, I saw that trade and I go, that damn Clay just slides under the radar. I'm trying to get as many top 8 quarterbacks as I can. And somehow Clay gets him for Breece Hall. And
look, running back one, Dynasty.
Okay.
Book it.
Shane can be an emotional player, and he loves Breece Hall, and he will also send out offers. Like if you put someone on the trade block, like Shane is the worst, is going to send you an offer if he likes that player. Yeah. And he sent a really lovely offer. Maybe he just wanted to get a trade done. I don't know.
I think that's it. There was maybe a little bit of antsiness when Shane clicked on that league and realized Clay had put a bunch of players on the trade block too. So I was like, let me send that. But I saw that deal and I'm just like, that damn Clay. Because Clay can be hard to trade with sometimes. How many times has Shane offered Clay a trade on the stream? And it's been like, oh, you know, Clay just said something. Maybe he'll take that trade now. He's going to decline it. But he smash accepted that deal.
But also, that's a league. Boom. I feel like I need to zag in that league. You know,
That's fair.
I looked at my quarterback room. I go T-Law and Justin Fields, and then I looked at my running backs, and I go, I can't really upgrade a quarterback here. Not in a way that I can afford to, but I can upgrade at running back significantly and go get the running back one in Dynasty. Yes, he's the running back one. Screw you people. Well, till Bijan's drafted. And Jimmy Garoppolo is going to look great as a Raider next year.
Yeah, we'll see. Fantasy draft room. Put this in the chat, by the way. Good to finally make it to one of these live. Glad you could make it.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for joining. Thank everyone for joining. We've got 380 people in here now. That tends to be like kind of our number, right? We're always like under 400, but above 350. Like these are like 380 OGs here.
Yeah, when we hit 400, I get all excited and I take a picture and I send it to my mom, and she asked how I got her number. But that's beside the point.
Just like, Shane, you don't reach out to me anymore. Okay, let's do this here. Let's put up J Teagan 85. 101 strategy question. 12 team, Superflex, start 11, thin at quarterback with just Kyler and Trash. Trying to move the 101, but if I can't, does it make sense to select QB1, especially if the 102 is also QB needy and I have the 103?
Look,
no, you just take Bijan off the lot, right? As opposed to drafting a quarterback at 101.
So but let's just say, let's play devil's advocate, except that's not what I'm playing here. I'm playing something else. What if Bijan goes out, you draft him preseason, tears his knee immediately?
Walking into a Dunkin' Donuts.
Just immediately walking into a Dunkin' Donuts. I really got to check that out. I didn't see that editing. I wish you would have sent me that clip so I don't have to watch the show.
Yeah, Shane doesn't watch the show, by the way, guys.
Or more realistically, Bijan Robinson suffers a non-contact injury, on a cut and blows his ACL, and he's done for 2023. How would you feel then? How would you feel, Scott? What happens to his value?
I mean, that's the risk of drafting him and just saying, I'll wait till he has a good game. You hear that a lot. I'll wait till he blows up after the first 4 weeks. Well, Breece Hall blew up after the first 5 weeks, and then his knee blew up. So, I mean, there's always that risk. But at the same time, how many times have we talked about what you should be looking for the 101? Don't get greedy. Don't act like you're getting Bo Jackson in his prime and he's gone back and never had an injury, but he's in the current NFL. Like, you have to be reasonable when you don't need Bijan, but that doesn't mean you just don't draft him. Like, that's the worst. That's the worst thing, is just let him go to the team at the 102. Yeah. Because then that team's sitting there going, man, I need a quarterback. But is he going to pass on Bijan?
No. And if he does, he's going to trade that 102 to the team behind him and get like a second or a second rounder out of him. But you got some value. You extracted something. It's not perfect, but remember, perfect is the enemy of good.
Okay. Let's put this up here. Mr. Wonderful, crusty trade alert. That's great. 12 team Superflex, PPR, tight end premium, start 11. Get Jacoby Myers, give Baker Mayfield, Zonovan Knight, and the 307.
Come on, I'm doing it. I mean, I'll always say roster construction. Construction matters most, but Jacoby Myers is good. Take some Jacoby Myers.
So you're not believing in the Baker Mayfield renaissance from the one good game he had? Okay.
No. He looks like him. That's enough.
I know his capabilities. He's right here. Yeah. They're not good.
I'll go with Jacoby too.
Yeah, I'll go with Jacoby. Thank you, Mr. Wonderful. Appreciate you as always. Okay, let's go up here. Starting off with this. Hey, Shane, found you here. Now I listen to the HQ. Dynasty Trades HQ. Check it out. Shane's show. He's got, I see 4 different ones here. One of them is a super chat. Thank you for this, Simon. My question is 2 parts, like 4 comments ago, he said, and I think Shane got those. So to what extent would you overpay on a trade in order to increase the value of future picks? Example, trade my 24 first for Devontae Adams because I own the Adams owner's 24 first and he's light on wide receiver.
I'll just say this. This is a great comment, and I think this is something that you can do regardless of what the situation is, whether you have the team's picks, whether in some other way you benefit by the trade without really just benefiting by the players or the value you're getting back. We talked about it last year with Deshaun Watson. Like, we want to buy Deshaun Watson, but if you can't get Deshaun Watson, the ZAG is to go get Deshaun Watson teams first. At least try to see what the price is, because they correlate, right? If he sits there and goes, I'm not trading this guy, he's going to be an elite quarterback again. Okay, what do you want for your first? That's a way to get free information. If he goes, I'm not trading my first because Deshaun Watson might sit out the whole season, then you're not finding a trade with that guy, right? Like he's overvaluing both sides that don't correlate with each other. So I think it's always thinking about trades exactly like you're talking about. I don't think there's a way to quantify if it's an overpay, but if you're gaining intrinsic value on any trade, whether it's your roster construction, whether it's you're getting future value 6 months down the road, if you make this deal now, like having a way to quantify that, because I guarantee you 90% of your league's not thinking that way. They're looking at the trade for black or white, A or B, who won, who lost. And you're sitting there going, man, I'm thinking 3 or 4 moves down the road, and this is really going to pay off if it goes right. So I love the question. That's great thinking by Simon.
Yep.
Your Simon says some smart stuff, but also, dude, always trade for future picks. Future picks are always beautiful because the 24 first literally can be anything right now. And people are imagining when they trade for it that it's going to be the 103, the 102, the 101. No one ever imagines that they're trading for the 112. You know what I mean? Like at no point is anyone ever excited like, oh, I know I got the 112 next year. No one ever wants that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that is good stuff there. Okay, so let's go to this one right here. Emma Corpse Ortiz, Core Ortiz. Thank you for the super chat. This is one of 2. Did you find the second one? Does this ring a bell, Shane? All right. I was just singing his praises earlier. We'll move this one for now and come back to it. Let's go to Kevin S here. Thank you, sir. Have the 103 on a rebuilding team. Team in front has the 1 and 2 with hot garbage at QB. What do you do if they decide to go QB? Take Bijan, immediately look to trade out. I really need a QB too.
Yes, if Bijan falls to 103, you take him, and now you have the problem that the 101 manager might have, but you got it at the 103 value. And I think the other thing to think about is, stay tuned to Dynasty Trades in 5. We might be having a show come out soon talking about the value of the 103 and why it is a weird spot for this exact situation. In his situation, obviously, he says the guy needs quarterbacks. But do we really think he has the stones to pass Bijan and let him go to the 103? Or is this
103? No, you can't. You have to.
I mean, if you have 1 and 2, doesn't that make it easier just to take one of each and take Bijan and one quarterback? Yeah. I mean, are you really going to just pass him up with 2 picks? That's crazy.
So do you see how hot and bothered we're getting here right now? Like, imagine if you're on the clock, 102 went Stroud and Young, right? And you're sitting 103 and Bijan's there. Don't you think everybody's going to be clamoring and you can buy a vet quarterback right there and then? Everybody's going to want some Bijan. Like, I don't know. You're gonna have a lot. You're gonna have a lot in a barrel.
Puppies in a barrel. You ever open a barrel? A bunch of puppies are in there, and they're just chomping at the bit. That's what your league will be.
It is interesting if that happens, and if it happens, like you're gonna have to let us know if that does actually happen in a league. Yeah. Will people see that pick as more valuable than actually the 101 because it's like so shocking that he fell to the 103? They are. It's not that the pick is more valuable, but they're actually more excited to go try to get the 103 now because they never thought it would happen. Whereas they probably didn't make a serious run at the 101 because they knew what they thought the cost was going to be. So it's almost like I'm more excited to buy now because it seems like it's a little bit of a better deal, but it's still the same asset. So I don't know. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't smash Bijan. I'd stay on the clock for a bit and make sure I say hi to him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So it would bring people into play because if I'm sitting at the 106, I look at the 101 and I go, there's no possible way I can move up to that. Like, there's literally no way. Like, I'm not even going to think about it. I'm going to watch you guys draft. And then I see, Katie takes someone at 101, Jenny takes someone at 102, and then at 103, Scott's on the clock. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I'm only 3 picks away from that. Like, this is actually feasible now. All right, let me see what I can do to get this done. So yeah,
but the fact that you're at the 106 and I now have Bijan, my pick is really like now the 1.05. Like it's worth more than the 101 because I know you're going to want it even more because now you think you have a shot to get it.
I know, but you'll definitely get more offers. I'll say that.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, let's go to this this super chat here. Thank you for that last one, Kevin. Shane found the second part here. Superflex, half PPR, start 9, no tight end premium. Give the 102, 111, 201, a 24 first, 224 seconds, and Dulcich. Get Trevor Lawrence and Cooper Kupp. would add to my Lamar. Still have the 105, 323 seconds, a 24 first, and 324 seconds if I do the trade. Thanks, guys.
I'm sorry, so it was a 24 first, and what was the first half of that?
Yeah, it's give the 102, 111, 201, 24 first. Like so giving some stuff, but
It's a start 9. The picks that I'm worried about giving up here are the 102 and the 24 first because it could be valuable. I could give a shit about Greg Dulcich, and if he came in on the show, I'd tell him that in reference to this trade. Yeah, I'd make this deal, and it's start 9.
Yeah, it's start 9. It's non-tight end premium, and I mean he's just basically getting Trevor Lawrence for a little more than the 102, but we would probably trade the 101 for Trevor Lawrence. So yeah, I'm doing this in a start 9. Smash it.
And you know, Scott's brought this up before when you're making trades and you're looking like in the startup, like put a name to that startup pick, right? Go look at the ADP and see who's usually around there. Do the same thing with rookie drafts. Just look at the players that have been taken generally around the 111, the 201. Like, yes, there's going to be those weird years where somehow Justin Jefferson fell to 111 because we all thought he could only play in the slot. And that for some reason Jalen Reagor might be better than him. That's going to happen, but that's more the outlier. Like if you just go through the history of just go on DLF ADP for the rookie drafts going back to like 2019, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I trade that immediately. Like, do I want to trade Mac Jones in the 102 for Trevor Lawrence? Yes, please.
So Mike D took it. Hey boys, I'd like to get your opinions. Trading for early picks in a league that does a lottery. Do you guys like to trade for those early picks before or after the lottery? And then he said here, continued from my question before the show started, would you rather the sure thing and pay more or pay a little less for the lottery?
So I'll keep this to like 30 seconds. I would rather try to get more of the picks in the lottery at the time when I'm getting the better odds on the outcomes of the picks. So that would be the league where I would try to cluster 3 of the 6 lottery picks, and hopefully I can get them early enough to where everyone that individually is trading them to me would be like, yeah, this could be the 103, but it also could be the 106. So can I cluster them there given the lottery more so than in a league where it's just going to be, I know what the pick's going to be. But yeah, this is one of those examples of if you trade when it's the 101 and it's already known, you're paying the 101 price. You know, it's less risk, but you're really not making any profit on it. So I'd rather just cluster them before I know what they are.
Weird question. Why is George Pickens a sell and Drake London a buy? They put up about the similar. They put up similar yards and TDs, but it took Drake 40% more targets.
First of all, he got more targets. He earned targets. I shouldn't say he got like they were handed to him. He earned targets. It's a hard thing to do is earn targets in football. George Pickens didn't, even after the decks were cleared. They were like, look, we're going to get rid of maple syrup Tron over here, and you have free reign. And George Pickens was like, you know what? I'd rather not. I'd really rather not. I'd like to make one spectacular play like every once in a while. Let me look at George Pickens' scoring too. Did he break 10 points?
I have so forget about, I'll just answer it like this, and then Shane can dive in on anything else he wants. I don't care about fantasy points. The only time I care about fantasy points is during the season. I'm just looking at the 2 profiles side by side. I just finished my DLF article for this week. It happened to be wide receivers. It just happened to be that the buy is Drake London and the absolute sell is George Pickens. Drake London, 29% target share, top 5 in the league. George Pickens, 15.8% target share. Like, solid, but there's a chance he's like Mike Williams. There's a chance he's Michael Gallup, but neither of those I want to pay a top 20 price for. So just everything about Drake London's profile screams, get him an average quarterback. Maybe Kenny Pickett becomes an average quarterback. That's the other thing. It's not like George Pickens has a stud quarterback. You know, like he's done nothing to say, okay, I need to buy him, but he's not even sitting in a situation where he has a good quarterback. So there's no reason to buy George Pickens. If you don't want to pay up for Drake London, fine. But the difference in their performance in year 1 is stark. Drake London was so much better.
And yeah, I know we want to say that they performed similarly, but Pickens was a 0.7 fantasy points per game less than what do you call that guy, Drake London, and besides just the target share just being absolutely not even in the same realm of the neighborhood of the world. Just go on StatHead. I'm just plugging them for free apparently. Hit us up with a affiliate, StatHead, and just look at the difference between rookie wide receivers that have scored 10 fantasy points per game versus the ones that have scored 9.9999. Like it's just different. I don't know why. I don't make the rules. It just is. Nope, Clay's on mute.
Oh my gosh.
Oh Jesus, you rookie.
That is a first.
I have never done that.
It's
normally Shane and I just yell at each other for being on mute during the roster reviews, but we actually got Clay.
You got me. Jarrett said, love the roster review. Actionable advice. Very, very valuable. Thanks, guys. And I've got plus or minus 65 emails sitting in our inbox inquiring about roster reviews. Bear with me, guys. I will get back to you. My apologies for the delay, but feel free to keep nudging me if need be. It's just, we got a lot going on. So we will get back to you. We've got a bunch in the hopper. It's a long wait list at this point, but hit us up, dynastytradesand5@gmail.com, and we'll give you the details. And, luckily it's, for better or worse, it's only almost February, so we got some time. But hit us up. Shane and Scott do an awesome job. We get a lot of these comments, and we appreciate that, Jared. Okay, let's go to this one right here. I see Rockstar gave us a super chat. Okay, he's in there.
Yeah,
okay.
He's after that.
Thank you, Rockstar, for this super chat. Let me find it.
Oh, I didn't say it was in the correct order. No. That's asking too much. He's definitely towards the bottom.
Okay. There it is. 10 team Superflex start 10 inbox trade. 101 and 105 for Joe Burrow.
Yes.
Full rebuild, and only other players on the roster are Olave, T-Law, Pittman, London, and Knox.
I mean, it is a 10 team, but I mean, what do we always talk about? That this is a pretty fair trade in a 10 team, I think. But I would still take the Burrow side, yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking the Burrow side. Obviously, this immediately is going to spring to mind. Like, can I get Jalen Hurts? Can I maybe try for Pat Mahomes? But if I can't, I'll settle for Burrow. I mean, Burrow is one of the top 4 scoring QBs this year per game, or top 5. He was one of the guys that was like separated from the pack. So, yeah, 101, 105 sounds good for me.
He was QB4, but try for the 3 ahead of him. If they get rejected, then go to him.
Yeah.
So I mean, and you can do that in an hour. Keep the trade up, send out the other ones. If they, decline them, then boom, you got your deal.
It's not cheating if they don't know.
Sage advice from Shane.
I made pierogies and chicken nuggets for dinner, by the way, tonight. So
thank you for that super chat. Okay, let's go to another one here. And obviously we did turn off the super chats. We appreciate everybody's generosity. Maybe waited a little bit too long to turn them off. We have to eventually end the show, and sorry that we're mainly hitting super chats or mainly
here. Let me drive for like 1
maybe more even than we normally do. So go ahead, drive, Shane.
If Shane drives, we're gonna not get there for
no.
hour.
I grabbed some codes. Great episode of Destination Dynasty this week from Scott. Interested to hear more tonight about league economics or economies. Finding Watson, Fields, and Lamar are all tough to move in my Superflex leagues for values. Did we already talk about this? Anyway, Scott does great shows. Check those out. But what I just wanted to hit on is if you can't get value for Watson, Fields, and Lamar, then don't move them.
We're not even to February 1st. Just wait it out. If your league is truly anti-quarterback and they'll never give you any value and you have to wait a year or more, then reassess. But I'm not panicking right now.
Right, one more. And is 197 trade attempts since the season ended excessive? Asking for a friend. Yes. I love trading, but that is excessive. That is tinkering beyond the yeah.
I mean, how many leagues are we talking about here?
I hope for the sake of those leagues that it's a lot, because
it's got to be
if that's 2
leagues, I mean, the fantasy season, The fantasy season has been over for 30 days.
Okay.
So if you divide 197, you're looking at about 6.6 trades per day. And if you got enough leagues, that's not that many.
That's not
So
that many.
I'll
Shane, you
forgive
send
you.
out that much per capita.
No.
Okay. Yeah, you've got a problem, Graphic 13, but don't we all?
Alyssa, not the 1-1. She's giving the 110. I don't remember what the beginning of this conversation was.
It's right here. I knew this was coming. I'll take over. 12 teams, start 9, 1 QB, no tight end premium. Got 2 offers on the table. The first one is give CMC this is where she said it was the not 101. I'm giving the 110. Give CMC the 110, 224 seconds for T. Higgins and Pitts. So let's start with that.
1 QB, no premium. CMC 110. Oh, wait. Yeah. No, I'm doing this. Yes.
CMC in the 110 and the 2 seconds for Higgins and Pitts. Okay, good with that. Yep.
Definitely.
Have ETN, Pollard, Brees Hall, and a second. Give the 110, 224 seconds for Mark Andrews. Have no tight end.
Okay, so I think this might be it's an either or, right?
Yeah.
And the second part is not the 101, it's the 110. So it's you're given the 10 or the 110 in either trade. You're picking which one you'd prefer. I think I'd rather take Andrews and keep Christian McCaffrey versus the other deal. If I can get Andrews for the 110, even if it's not tight end premium in a start 9, that has, I think, some significant value. I think he's proven to be good enough to where I'd rather take the shot on the tight end advantage versus, the T. Higgins side, because I am giving up McCaffrey in a 1 QB start 9.
Yeah.
Maybe Shane says differently. What you got, Shane? What you got?
With Higgins for CMC straight up, but yeah, in a start 9, that's my hero RB that we used that term earlier. I honestly like either deal. I think Andrews is the safer of the two because we've actually seen him produce as a top 2 tight end. And though Pitts did have 1,000 yards receiving, I believe he was one of only 2 tight ends ever to do that in his rookie season. He didn't score any touchdowns.
Well, Alyssa clearly values Christian McCaffrey over T. Higgins because I'm guessing she prefers Kyle Pitts to Mark Andrews. And in the second deal, you're just getting Andrews.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming the CMC for Higgins deal could be had, right? But she probably doesn't want to do that. So it's either I get Pitts and I have to give up CMC and Higgins, or settling for Andrews. So I think it's just pick which one you prefer.
All right. Here's where we talk about future casting a little bit, right? What do I always say? I want to get out on a running back at least a year before than a year late. I would like to get rid of CMC right now. All it takes is one more injury. Like, it was nice that he tried to play all the football games this year just to see what it was like because he hadn't done it in this decade. So that was cool of him. But he's still a running back. He's still going to be at least 26 at the end of next year. Give me the Higgins and Pitts side.
Okay. Move that here. Okay, moving to the next one here. Avatar, 10 team, half PPR, start 8, 1 QB. Picked Ridley off waivers week 10. Just sold Brees and Ridley for London, 210 and a 24 first. Did I win?
I'll defer to Shane on this one, but I just love the pun of he rudely picked up Ridley.
Yeah.
It wasn't on purpose, but I love that now. You rudely picked up Ridley. I like it. But I'll let Shane answer this one because this involves like literally 3 of his top 5 favorite players in history.
All right. I obviously I've spoken about my feelings for London. I like London a lot, not as much as Olave and Wilson, but I do like London a lot. If I'm trading Brees for a wide receiver, it would be London. I'm looking at Ridley. I got rid of Ridley for a 210 and a 24 first. Yes, I say you won. I just break it down like that in my head. And even if you don't think Brees and London are equal, the difference between Ridley and a 210 and a 24 first is much greater than the difference between London and Brees.
It's so shallow. Like it's close. It's really close. I don't know.
That's the point, Clay.
In that format.
That's the only thing to think about is this is a league where there's only 80 starters across the league. So the shallower it gets, the more you're chasing the specific advantage, which the running back's going to be harder to find than the receiver in most cases. And I think the only other factor is he picked up Calvin Ridley off waivers.
I love that.
What else is on waivers? You can also argue, dude, I picked him up off waivers and I'm getting a first for him now. Like you would do that all day. So I kind of lean that way just simply because it sounds like the second deal, he's getting a free roster spot, right? Because he's getting 2 picks and Drake London for 2 players. Like, is there another Calvin Ridley on waivers? If so, then you're smashing that side.
And then go trade a 24 first for Derrick Henry. And then you turn to Brees and Ridley and the Derrick Henry and Drake London. And a 210.
There you go. Okay, let's move on to Dominic Anthony here. Thank you very much for the super chat. 12-team Superflex start 9. I have the 105, 106, 111, and 206. Running back room is non-existent. Do I just hammer running backs or best player available? Quentin Johnson, JSN, etc. if they are there.
Well, the good news is you have 2 picks inside the top 6. So you're going to have options to get really, really good profiles. I wouldn't just hit running back because that's what you need, especially with those 2 picks. Like those 2 picks, I'm playing the value game. So we don't know anything about his quarterbacks. We don't really know anything about any of the other formats of the, how many roster spots, anything like that. I mean, I've said it earlier in the show. I'm not worried about building a running back room, even in a start 9. Like, will I prioritize one maybe a little higher because it's a shallower league? Yeah. But I'm not sitting here going like, I'm worried that there's going to not be enough running backs for me to take. So I need to reach and pass on JSN, Quentin Johnston, one of the quarterbacks, just to take running backs because I need them. So play the value game.
Yeah, I mean, I might end up taking Will Levis and Anthony Richardson here. I might
Not
do
Will
it.
Levis. Not Will Levis.
Oh, but you're willing to bet on Anthony Richardson. You know what? Can I turn the 205 and the 206 and the 105 into 103 and go get Bryce Young or Stroud, and then fine, at 106 we can draft Richardson and make Scott happy.
No, stay tuned to the 103 show. I'm literally wearing a Kentucky shirt, okay? And I'm saying do not take Will Levis. It has nothing to do with Will Levis's talent. But anyway, that's for a future video if you subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, if you're still here, if you're listening and you're not subscribed, consider doing that. Although in the comments on the Bijan video, I was told that we were so heavy-handed asking for a subscribe that the person was literally not going to subscribe ever because it was so heavy-handed. So I want to apologize to that guy. Maybe we were. Hopefully you're still listening to our stuff because you should listen to these 2 guys right here.
But he commented, so that's good.
He did comment. He helped the algorithm. I was going to tell him he should remove that comment. If he really doesn't want to help us. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure he's a good dude. Appreciate the engagement. So I did want to do this. Josiah, I told him in the comments that I was going to ask this on the live stream, so I don't want to forget. The initial question was DK and ETN for the 101. It's a Superflex, tight end premium, start 9, 12 team. His QBs are, well, let's just go with that. 12 team, start 9, Superflex, tight end premium, DK Metcalf and Travis Etienne for the 101.
I'm willing to hold the pick a little longer. Good players, not great players. Players I would want.
He would be getting the 101. His team is his QBs are Justin Herbert, Tua, Lance, Jimmy G, running backs Brees Hall and Gainwell. Wide receivers are Waddle, Garrett Wilson, DJ Moore.
I mean, you've just sealed the deal. You've read off those receivers: Waddle, Garrett Wilson, and Brees Hall, and you're adding Bijan. I think I know Shane's answer.
Yeah. I got to do it. I'll tell you what, though. That's one of the better offers I've actually seen, or returns I've seen for the 101.
Yeah.
Like it's 2 legit players that I can actually start every week and make my roster better, as opposed to most of the offers that I've seen for the 101.
Right. Yeah. I thought it was a good one. My initial gut reaction was the 101 in that format, but it was worth bringing.
And that's one of those, if I saw it come across the trade, right? If I saw that in the old sleeper alerts or even MFL, because it's the 80s or whatever, and I've gone back in time, I'd be like, yeah, that's a fair deal. That's a square deal. I might have to go look at a trade calculator and see what a trade calculator thinks.
Okay, here's one here, and then I'm going to pull up something else that I committed to doing. Joseph, thank you for the super chat, man. 12 team Superflex, start 11, 0.75 tight end premium, 0.25 point per carry. So every rush attempt by the QBs or running backs or any player for that matter is worth 0.25. So it's a big PPC, 6 point per pass touchdown. I have the 103. I paid the 210, 303, 410. 503 for the 102, 911, and 1111. How bad did I overpay? What's my strategy moving forward considering the stipulations?
The only thing I don't like I'm not great. I hate giving up that many picks in a row. Like I would have loved to just broken one up in the middle. Like somehow I was given like the 2, the 3, the 5, and then the 6 as opposed to 4, but whatever. The bigger problem is, and Scott would say this if I didn't, is if you didn't get the same amount of picks back. That's a problem. But getting the 102 and the 103 and starting your roster, even to start 11. So conservatively, you're going to have Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. That's not bad. I think that's pretty good. And a PPC too, Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. Oh my goodness. You'd be doing just absolute damage. Lamar Jackson is in play at 103 if those, one of those other guys is off the board. Hey, look, it's survivable. Your quarterbacks are going to put you in a position, especially that you're going to have running ones where you're probably going to be really scoring a lot of points from your quarterback position. But try to get another pick back. I don't know how you can do it now, but try to get another pick.
Yeah, you didn't slay the day, but this is still a pretty good trade relative to how you're building your team. The best time to make a trade like this is now, before the picks are off the board, because you can build around the lack of picks that you have in that middle range. I would probably be looking to move I know this is going to be tough to do because you don't pick for 4 rounds. Can I move that 6 and 7 for the split the asset deal? Can I get a 24 first and a 10th for a 6th? Can I get a 24 first and a 12th for a 7th? Like I would spam those out now before people see what picks are going to be there. You may not get them. Like the 5th. That's why doing the 2, 3, 4 for 1, 9, and 11 is awesome because you still have that 5th where there's enough good players there where someone still probably values those players as a first or a first plus, and you have a chance to do those 2 for 1s. The 6 is pushing it, especially here would be the 6-10. I still try it though. If you can do one more deal where you split an asset into 2 and do like an 80-60, 80-40 type deal, I love it. I love his start. Your quarterbacks are going to keep you in it. So good job, Joseph. Don't feel bad.
Okay, so I also wanted to do this. Spencer got a roster review from us, and he said if I ever got the chance to do this, to do it. So here we go. We wanted to give a shout out to the super fun Dynasty League with Ryan, our super awesome commissioner. He said he would love it. So there you go.
That's awesome.
Ryan, you're an awesome commissioner, and yeah, nice gesture there, Spencer.
Look, I couldn't even name most of the commissioners of leagues I'm in, and I only have 3 of them. Like it's either Ruben Scott or me.
How about Clay?
Clay.
Oh yeah.
There's like every league I'm in, there's like 4 commissioners, and I couldn't name them all if you made me.
Okay, let's go to Thomas here. Part 1, 10 teams, start 11, Superflex. I have T-Law, Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, Brees, Pollard, 101, 103, 104, 108, 224 first, and 225 first. Should I draft my guys? Draft my guys and a QB this year, or would you trade 5 first for Mahomes and Waddle? So the team, he's got T-Law. It's a start 11, 10 team Superflex.
I'm just thinking
if those 5 firsts can include one of the 25 firsts and the 108, I'd be fine doing the Mahomes and Waddle deal all day. Because I know it's a lot, but really it isn't a lot when you're getting Mahomes in the trade and with your roster construction already. You add Mahomes to this. If somehow you survive not giving up multiple picks, like if you keep the 101 and you somehow keep one of those 103 or 104, like you're setting yourself up. That's one of the deals where I will take the players now, despite it not being the greatest timing. So yeah, if you can do it'd be great if you could do the 108, 225 first, and
we know that 101 is going to have to be involved in this trade. So would
you
do it?
Maybe
would you do it if it's the 101, the 103, the 108, and a 24 first. Oh, there's 5 of them. A 24 first and a 25 first. So you're giving up the 101, the 103, 108, and 2 later ones.
Look, I'm going to find a way to make this work.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
going to find 5 first.
I would still do it. I would still do it. Yep.
Yeah,
I'd still do it.
We'll find a way to do this. Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Waddle for 5 first. Yeah, it's a lot, but yeah, I just got the QB1 in Dynasty, and I got a top 10 wide receiver in Dynasty. So yeah, we're doing it. We'll get it done.
When Mahomes becomes available, you exhaust all. Try to do everything you can to not do the 101 and offer every other pick. But yeah, do it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to Avatar again for another super chat. Thank you very much. New startup, never played Superflex. Well, welcome to Superflex. You'll never go back. 10 team, tight end premium, 1.5 full PPR. Okay, so it's 1.5 for tight ends, full PPR for everyone else. Started with the 103. Traded the 103 and 803 for the 107 and 403. So moved back and got a top 50 pick at a discount. So far, Lamar, Deshaun, Garrett Wilson, the 104, and he's penciled in JSN. London, Mark Andrews for the stack for now at least. 106 and 7. Calvin Ridley, James Cook, Carr, 205, Madison, 210. It's got Damian Harris. It's slow draft, 24-hour pick. How did I do so far?
It is a 10 team, but looks pretty damn good to me.
Looks good to me. So yeah, I mean, got
I like how he traded out of the 103, but still ended up with Lamar and Deshaun Watson. That's interesting because I wonder what he did. I mean, obviously he made some other trades here somewhere, but I like that, especially in a 10 team, because that does magnify that 403 and 80 or 803 gap a little bit more in the 10 team because you're getting a better player at the 403. So I like it.
You don't good. Put up part 2 for me again. How did he end up with? What were the quarterbacks he ended up with it again?
Lamar and Deshaun Watson.
And Derek Carr.
Well, I don't care about him, but 107. 107. I don't know who you got at 107, but Watson and Lamar shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
One of those two shouldn't have been there. The fact that you got them made this a really good deal.
I'm guessing he probably ended up either moving back or moving up in the second, or someone just didn't take Watson or Lamar because it's never played Superflex. I'm guessing there's the other people that are. I got to give him props too because he survived a league with a 24-hour timer.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. That would be the one thing I don't know if I could last if everyone was taking, randomly 16 hours to make a pick. But anyway,
I would, and I'd wait till the clock shut off at night just to mess with you.
Okay, let's go to Quentin here. You guys just did a roster review for him. Thanks again for reviewing my team. You're welcome. And it looks like you're a golfer and you want a big trophy there. I don't know. Maybe that's a professional golfer, not you, but you got the last name Hogan too. The need you all said was tight end. Thinking of going the 202 and Keenan or the 202 and James Cook for the 107 to get Michael Mayer. Thoughts on which? 10 team, 1 QB, no tight end premium.
I understand where he's going for. I mean, if he wants to make that bet on Michael Mayer, I don't hate in his format. I don't care about the pieces that he's giving up. Put it that way. Can you get a better tight end than Michael Mayer at the 107? Can you get Goddard?
Can you buy someone other than Michael Mayer?
If you can't, I guess the only other alternative would be I still think somebody like Njoku is a good buy. Can you get Njoku for just Keenan Allen or something like that? I'd be okay doing that, but I don't hate it if he really wants Michael Mayer. YOLO. This is a YOLO spot because he's not really giving up much of substance.
Yep, I'm with it.
Yeah. There's whatever. Like you said, maybe you give Keenan Allen for an existing tight end. Just being flexible. Like not necessarily if you make that trade and you get the 107, locking it in. Like I'm taking Michael Mayer here. Like get the pick, get the value of the 107, and then go from there. You'll have that option. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. Thank you very much for the super chat, Quentin. Glad you enjoyed the roster review. Mr. Wonderful, 12-team Superflex PPR, tight end premium, start 10. Get Justin Jefferson. Give the 102 DK, and Tony. Have Watson, Herbert, DK, Olave, London, DJ Moore, Pitts. Yeah, this is a league where he has the 102, 207, and then 524 first.
Yeah.
Give me some JJ.
Yeah, Jesus Christmas, Tony. Unless Tony's jumping at you in your Twitter DMs, threatening you to not make this deal. You got to make this deal.
I mean, Mr. Wonderful's a loyal listener. He's at every stream, but this is one of those where he's kind of paying to brag a little bit here because he's only got those 524 firsts, which means that when I see a team that has 524 firsts already, but they have a roster like this, it's like, you know, they're just pulling the wool over the eyes of the league every single year. So like, even if you lose this deal and, you know, DK scores 20 plus points per game next year, like you're probably going to be able to get it back in the next 2 trades that you make. So yeah, all day. Good deal.
Good deal. Okay, let's keep on moving here. We've got like 5 left. Again, sorry that we're just doing strictly super chats here. We have to call off the stream at some point, and yeah, can't refund these.
Well,
Eli Smith, what's up, buddy?
Next week we might be able to go longer when I got my new cushion for my butt. So,
oh, really?
Yeah,
new cushion. Yeah, please keep us posted.
That's why everyone tuned in until 10:07 p.m. to talk about the new chair cushion that you got.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah. Eli Smith, thank you for the super chat. 1 of 2, 12 teams, start 9, Superflex, tight end premium. Assets are Hertz, T-Law, London, Tony, Freiermuth, 103, 104, 108, 110, 111. Want to acquire a reliable third QB via Scott's advice? How would you go about doing so? Trade or use the 103 on Young or Stroud, assuming he falls? And holy shit, congrats on the $100 donation. Sorry, I can't afford that. Yeah, thank you again, Davis, but thank you for your, I don't know, was this $5? Hey, it all counts, man. It all goes to the channel. We appreciate you all. We appreciate the non-super chatters too, man. We got some a rock solid 6,000, like 200 subs, whatever it is. We are small but mighty, thanks to you guys.
I love all our people. So I will say this. I don't know that I've said this at all. I hate this strategy, but if you were going to use the 103 to insulate yourself and go get another quarterback, I prefer that you do it on one that's established as opposed to taking a shot on a younger Stroud who, you know, for all we know, could be, I'm trying to think of a bad quarterback, Mac Jones. I don't know.
Aside from, I'm going to throw out a bad quarterback too. Kenny Pickett. No, not. Theory-wise here, Eli, here's the thing to remember. Not the 103, simply because you have 5 firsts in the top 11. So that you're going to control the draft, basically. Not every pick, but I would much rather just say, you know what? I have 5 of the top 11. I believe he had 5 of the top 11 picks, and 101's probably going to be Bijan. So there's going to be multiple chances in that string of picks where a quarterback could be sitting there. I would rather pay the 111 for the quarterback 4 and wait if that's the route that you go. But I would not just commit to the 103. I'm taking the third quarterback. You know, that this would be a team where I'm just going to play the value of those picks. If I don't come out of the draft with a good third quarterback, I probably came out with 5 damn good assets that I can then put on the market for a quarterback. So don't rush. You got enough picks. You're already in control, bro.
Thank you for that super chat. Thank you, Dan. 12 team Superflex, 2 PPR for tight ends. Any trade moves you see here? Josh Allen, ETN, Sanders, Andrews, DK, Sutton, Pickens, Gabe Davis, Pacheco, Mac Jones, no 24 firsts, and he has a late 23 pick.
I know Shane sees some players on here he would love to sell, right?
Yeah, the problem
we don't have any starters, but let's say start 9. Somehow trying to package up Pickens and Sutton.
Well, let's just say this. I think this is a league. If you're in any 2 PPR leagues or if you've played in any before, people generally overvalue the high-end tight ends. They undervalue the flex worthiness of tight ends, meaning the name George Pickens is going to hold so much more weight than Dawson Knox, yet you put them side by side and you're like, damn, they can kind of score like the same amount of points. So you can take advantage of that. You probably can't go buy another second elite tight end, right? You're not going to go buy Kyle Pitts. You're not even going to get Hawkinson, Goddard, Freiermuth. Like, you're not going to do that. If you're willing to kind of bet on some profiles at tight ends, and we've talked a lot about that, we'll talk more about it. Like, this is the kind of league where you could go steal, Mike Gesicki in a second for Gabe Davis. And it's like Mike Gesicki's probably just flat out better than Gabe Davis, and you're getting the second. And it's because everyone looks at Mike Gesicki and goes, he stinks. But really, in a format like this where the tight ends are elevated and wide receiver 3s and 4s like Gabe Davis are falling, that's where I'm trying to make the deals here. That's how he gets the 2-for-1 deals and comes out of this with like just as many points on his roster, but more assets. Because if this is all he has, what's that? 9 assets on the whole roster? Like, you're probably not contending with what I see on the screen, but I think you could easily split a couple of those pieces. Sutton, Gabe Davis, Pacheco in a 2 PPR format. I'm fine if you could trade Pacheco for 2 pieces. I'd take like a second and a third, or a second and a throw-in tight end. Like that's where I'm trying to move this team.
Okay, sorry, I was looking down. Thank you, Dan. I am going to put this one up here, and then I just have to change scenery real quick. So, bye-bye.
Shane.
Yeah, leaving you here.
No, okay. So I'll read 10 team, 1 quarterback, PPR, start 8. I have the 102 and 201. My running backs are Kamara, Akers, JT. My wide receivers, Chase, AJB, Ridley, Gabe Davis. How would you handle those picks? What did we say? It's full PPR? I didn't see that. Yep.
It's PPR, 1 QB, start 8.
Yeah, I'm probably going to lean towards Gibbs at the 102 right here in this format. 201, probably also a running back, unless a wide receiver that was drafted in the first round falls.
I actually think I'd rather have the running back at 201 because I think they're going to be much better. That doesn't mean I don't exploit the fact that somebody is probably wanting a running back more than a receiver at 102. But he already has Kamara, Akers, JT.
Saying Kamara, but Kamara and Akers are Akers is old. I'm thinking long term.
So basically, okay, you're putting Gibbs though in a range where it's like he's clearly above like Alvin Kamara for next year. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think you can go either way. My point is, if you could trade the 102 for, Garrett Wilson, you're doing that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so isn't that the same thing as kind of saying I'd prefer the receiver at 102?
No, because the receiver at 102 isn't Garrett Wilson.
I'm the position. Forget about the players.
I'm thinking of the profile, the players that are going to be there.
Okay, then we're split. I'm shopping the 102. Yeah. Shane's smashing Jahmyr Gibbs. So there you go. Thank you, Andrew, for spending $9.99 for us to give you different answers. But no, I think Shane would pay for one of those receivers. That's what I tried to do before I would draft Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, if I could, yeah. So if I could ship the 102 for Garrett Wilson, if I could ship the 102 for Chris Olave, I would do that, as opposed to drafting Gibbs or Addison / JSN. I don't know who JXN is.
Yes.
Yep.
Hi, Clay.
I guess Clay doesn't want to help. All right. Well, look, we got to carry the show for Clay, I guess. That's how it goes sometimes. So
shit just went totally off the rails when Clay leaves for like a minute. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
We're going to show this one here. Fantasy King. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Hey, everyone, hit those likes. 12 team, 1 QB PPR. Start 8. Give the 101 for Garrett Wilson, Rashad White, and a 24 first. He also has the 105, 109, 111, 201. Lots of upside wide receivers, only in Dobbins and Javonte at running back.
Nope. I'm taking Bijan here. It's basically, I get it. He's getting the late 24 first, but I'm okay doing going the Bijan route with this.
Yeah, I'm a start 8. 1 QB start 8.
Shane is debating. He sees Garrett Wilson in a 24 first. That is very tempting.
Garrett Wilson is pretty much like my catnip. But I think I'll hold out and see if I can get more, if not make the Bijan pick here.
Yeah. Don't listen to Shane. Okay.
Come on, Clay.
I'm messing with you. Gravedigger. Is that the Hubble telescope? What is it? I just pulled a Shane there. What is that thing called? Like the telescope? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, real quick, I want to just put this up. No, Acres isn't old. I'm sorry. Camara is old. Acres is meh. There was a comma in that comment. It's just it was one of those inferred comments.
Scott got hammered too on our 102 show, our 101 show rather, saying there was one guy who said, "Don't listen to these guys. Awful advice. Like, don't try to trade the 101 for Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, because in the show you said we would entertain Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson for the 101, and we've gotten 4 or 5 comments on that, and it's like, forgive Scott for his use of words. We would smash that. Anyway, I'm calling out trolls. Gravedigger, thank you for the super chat. It's in the inbox here. Send Jamison Williams a 24 first projected mid, a 24 second projecting early. Get AJ Brown, 10 team, 1 QB, half PPR, start 9.
I'm good doing it. This is exact format where you're looking for the consolidation upgrade, the early second and 24. It doesn't mean a whole lot in a 10 team start 9. So it's basically JMO and a mid first next year for AJ Brown.
Yeah, unless Jameson's an outlier, he's not going to be any good. And you could give me the whole he didn't play. It generally doesn't matter. But AJ Brown's a top 4 dynasty wide receiver. I'll take the risk that GMO might make me live to regret the trade one day.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Good consolidation there. Before I forget too, I teased this in the community post for the live stream, and 384 people in here who've already hit the like. But no, so tease the fact that we do have an opening in one of our listener leagues. Okay, so it's the beast of a 16 team Superflex.
We have a 16 team Superflex?
Yes, we do.
Who the hell did that?
It's a monster, and it was an auction startup. But I paid attention for like the first little bit. My team is just dog crap. But the orphan that is open is actually, I haven't pulled it up in a bit, but it's fine. It's like a decent team or whatever. If you want to get into the auction league, we're going to do a little bit of a contest. So I'll also put this in the community post for people who can't make it to this live stream, but I'll schedule out a YouTube short and send that sucker out. And then I will ask for you all to comment on that YouTube short, give your thoughts or help somebody out if they have a trade question that will qualify you to be in the lottery to then, do a 100-yard rush, some kind of like spin the wheel, to see who's going to get that spot. So more info coming there, but make sure you hit the notification bell. I figured that was a good way to do it. Basically, I'm trying to get one of our YouTube shorts. If you haven't checked them out or seen them on TikTok, trying to get it in the short shelf, see if we can get some movement on it. So I think that would be a good way to get some engagement. And
as soon as you join the league, you're going to get an offer from me of having the chance to trade for the 101 and get Bijan.
Ooh. Yep. No, it'll be fun, man. And we get tons of people asking like, hey, how do we get into leagues with you guys? And are you doing more listener leagues? More to come on that. We have to shed some of our own leagues. We always keep you guys in mind. We probably will look for another milestone to do another listener league. But stay tuned on that.
7.5 feels like the right.
Well, so I don't know how many views we're at right now. I saw a while back we're at 700,000 views or something like that. So maybe when we hit the 1 million view mark, it's probably going to take a long time. But
yeah,
we'll figure out a milestone because we love startups, right?
Yes.
Thank you all for joining. We really appreciate you as always, guys.
Hey, favorite night
with the orphan. Spoiler: the orphan has JJ and Chase. Oh,
it's
nice.
Not bad.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
bad. So all I want for that 101 is just one of those guys.
I'll say this too: the orphan, he's a good dude. He's from Sweden. It's not like the team is trash. It might even still have its 24 first. He was just like, I'm not as active as I want to be in this league. So give up the spot to someone else.
Well, he's from Sweden. I mean, that's not even a real place. So we don't know.
It was a red flag to begin with. Yeah. No.
I mean, the only Swedish people I know are the Muppet guy, the Swedish chef. So no, just thank you for everyone joining us on Tuesday. Favorite night of the week. Getting to hang out with you guys. No matter how miserable my first 2 days of work are, I'm always like, yes, it's Tuesday. The week has turned the corner.
Yeah, and I have to begrudgingly give Shane congrats. His Eagles made the Super Bowl. My team did not. I'm over it, but wish Shane good luck on getting his second title in 5 seasons. It would be
6 seasons.
Six seasons, yes.
Yeah.
But just congratulations, Shane. We were hoping it would be a Bengals Eagles Super Bowl. Didn't quite work out, but you know what? We still got Dynasty Trades in 5. We got Dynasty Trades in 5 every freaking Tuesday night. We had over 400 for like half the stream. So thank you to everybody. Thank you, Clay, for putting up with us.
Hey, likewise.
We interrupt you and add a bunch of stuff into the chat and add a bunch of comments into the queue, and then we remove them because we know way we're going to get through 184 questions. But anyway, appreciate everybody. Good stuff. Be back next Tuesday.
Yep, and be on the lookout for our 103 show. Probably Friday. See you guys.